Hi, class. Welcome to Abroad Sex Education, where we discuss everything you wish you learned in school. I'm your host and reader of raunchy romance, Sin. Today is a special episode featuring Ayesha and Jenika of Heartbound Bookshop, a cozy indie bookstore where romance novels are more than just stories. They're lessons on love, intimacy, and community. Just a quick note before we start the consent notice. The audio in this episode isn't studio perfect, but the conversation was just too good not to share. So, thanks for all for listening. This podcast is a sex education resource intended for an adult audience. We'll be having real, inclusive conversations about sexuality, pleasure, relationships, gender, identity, and more. Some topics may be considered explicit or sensitive, especially in today's lesson, where we'll explore how romance novels act as informal sex education and why diverse love stories matter for all of us. Our goal is to break the stigma and provide the kind of education many of us never got. We're learning too, and we're bringing what we learned straight to the classroom so we can all grow together. You deserve to know what this is about so you can make an informed decision to listen, or not. That's what consent looks like, even here. Welcome!
Hi, I'm Jenika.
I'm Ayesha.
I met you both at a pop-up shop. It's probably a few years now, but it was the one you did at the Anaheim Ducks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The Anaheim Rings, that was our first one ever.
I remember because you had the blind dates with the book, and I was like, ooh.
That was our second time, because I don't think we did blind dates the very first time.
We did.
Oh, then
Because
okay,
it was
I don't
like-
know.
I don't feel like you forget your first one.
I don't know, I forget a lot of things.
So I've been following you guys ever since that, and especially small-owned business, love supporting small business, but also Filipino.
Yes, we love it.
Hi.
We wanted to have a special episode today to honor Filipino American History Month, which is October, and we're gonna talk a little bit more about some exciting Filipino things a little bit later on. But before we get to that, Heartbound Bookshop is located in Anaheim, California. It's the first romance exclusive bookstore in Orange County, and it is AANHPI woman and family owned. So how did the idea of the bookstore even come to be? What was the start of, we're gonna open a bookstore?
So we always talked about it ever since we were kids. Like, just like, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? You're like, oh, I want to own a bookshop. Usually people say, well, I want to be a teacher, or I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a nurse. Ours was like, oh yeah, I want to be a bookshop owner.
Well, I mean, not necessarily, but I feel like the older we got and the more into reading we got, I think we recognize that a lot of people, I feel like it's a very common dream to like
Yes.
live a more quieter life. I feel like bookshop owning is one of those things where it seems quiet, it seems calm,
Yeah.
it seems like, oh, I'm gonna love this. I'm gonna open a bookshop that's also a coffee shop, that's also a bakery.
That also has flowers.
Has flowers and like stationery. So like I feel like it's everyone's dream,
Yeah.
and we always talked about it when we were younger.
Yes.
Also because our mom and her sister had talked about it when they were younger.
Oh,
It was one of their dreams to like own a bookshop together.
Theirs was larger too. It was like a bed and breakfast with
Yeah.
a bookshop and then stationery
It's some
and a
wild
bakery
stuff.
with a diner. And I was like,
Yeah.
you want everything. Got it. That
Yeah,
makes
so
sense.
that was part of their thing when they were growing up. It was something we always thought about when we were growing up. Our parents never limited what we could read. They always took us to the bookstore, and like, it wasn't something that was like not allowed.
They supported like our book habit.
Yeah.
I guess you could call it a book
But the
habit.
actual lore about how this bookshop in particular started was 2023. My sister had just quit her corporate job. She was tired of it. My mom had owned a business at that time, her own small business, and
Yeah.
she's like, cool, if you want to quit your job, you can come work for me until you figure out what you want to do, or you can just work for me permanently. Like,
Yeah.
that's totally fine. So this girl was like reading a book a day. She was pissing me off. I would come home from my corporate job, and she'd be like, I finished the book today.
It was just like I had more free time because everything that my mom needed help with, I could finish in the morning. So then by lunchtime, there was a lot more free time. We were still answering emails and stuff, but I could still read. I'm not on the computer anymore. I just ended up reading so much, and I had a couple books already that I hadn't touched in a long time. So I was like, let me just start reading them again. That kind of blew up to where I was reading a book a day. If I was fast enough, depending on how short the book was, I could read 2 books a day. So that she was getting mad because I was averaging like 30 to 45 a month.
I couldn't even finish a book a month that time because I was drained from my corporate job. So every time I came home, I'm ready to sleep. I don't have time to read. But she was having the time of her life reading a book, all of these books. And I was like, cool, let's start a bookstore. Sounds like it's going to be Instagram. So we were getting most of our book recommendations at that time. So we started a bookstagram together. So I would be encouraged to read more to decompress from my corporate job. And then she ended up reading a series that she really loved.
Yes.
The Katharina Mora series.
It was called the Windsor series. It's about family billionaires and arranged marriages. It was very high angst. I can cry easily. So reading those books, I was crying a lot. But it was a really good cathartic cry. I got so obsessed when I told her, I'm like, I actually need the physical of this book because I have Kindle Unlimited. So I was just reading it on Kindle Unlimited. I told her, let's go look for this book. And she's like, okay. So I dragged her to the only Barnes & Noble in this area. They didn't have it. They also have a very small romance section. And then she said, oh, there's another Barnes & Noble. I was like, okay, let's drag. So I took her to Huntington Beach. They do have a big selection, but I could not find my book. And I was like, what the hell? I ended up buying other books. And then I was telling her on the drive home, like, I'm really disappointed. I don't know why they don't have it because I saw it on their website. And I'm wondering why you can only get it on the website. And she's like, is she independent? And I was like, what does that mean? She's like, does she release her own book? She's like, she's self-published. And I was like, oh, I never looked. So when we got home, I looked it up. And sure enough, at that time, she was self-published. I was like, oh, so they don't carry it. I can only get it from Amazon. So I was like, oh, well, whatever. I'm like, she's like, well, there's other bookstores, romance-centric bookstores around. And I'm like, oh, sure, then let's go. And she's like, yeah, one is in LA. And I was like, girl, are you fucking real? I was like, you want to drive an hour and a half to LA, then have to find
I
parking?
don't want to drive.
I know, and I told her, I don't want to drive. Like, I don't want to find parking. Like, we would have to eat there. You know, I have the whole
Every time
thing.
you go to LA, it has to be an all-day thing.
Yeah, it's a day trip.
Like the whole day out of it because you're already there, you're never there. So when you're there, you have to do all these other things that you were never planning to do before. But like, we're already here. Might as well try this place and try that place because we're already in LA.
And next thing you know, you spent like $2 all the way.
Like parking alone is like what, 20, 40 bucks now? It's wild.
So then I told her, no, I don't want to do that. She's like, okay. She's like, well, there's another one. And I was like, okay, where is this one? And she's like, it's in San Diego. I was like, bitch.
It's even further.
I was like, I don't want to talk to you. Like, your suggestions are far. She's
I was like, also, but they might have this book that you're particularly.
because it's romance centric. And I was like, that's true. And I'm like, I love the book, but I'm not going to spend a 2-hour drive to just get it. I was like, I'll be fine. I already have it. And then she joked, well, you know what the solution could be? And I was like, what? And she was like, we could just open our own bookstore. And I was like, ha, 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 ha. Yeah, we talk about that every year. Sure.
We never do it.
And we never do it. So I was like, okay, cool. So we continued still doing like the Bookstagram and reading and stuff. And then a couple months later, probably early in the morning, she had texted me. She's like, hey, you know that idea we were talking about? I'm like, what? She's like, the bookshop. I'm like, okay. She's like, do you want to do it? Are you serious about it? And I was like, you tell me. I don't have a corporate job. You have a 9 to 5.
I was like, I'm on here.
I'm
like,
already
I have
here.
so much free time. Like, you tell me.
Because you're the one who would have to sacrifice the stable job for it. And then she's like, okay. And then that night she came home and she looked up all the places we can get the books. She said like, oh, I'll talk to Mama about like helping us getting a business license. Like we can get a website. What was the resource you found that could help us score? They like consult.
Yeah, it's free consulting from other business owners who are successful and just kind of like dedicate their time to like help other small businesses, like give financial resources, like how to start up, like all the aspects of like a business that you could think that you need help about. They have someone that would help you. Like there are experts on like, oh, I can do branding. Oh, I can do financial stuff. Oh, you need help with marketing. Like whatever will guide you through the whole thing, and it's free.
Oh.
So she had all that ready, and I was like, okay. So I'm like, you are serious? Then let's do it.
I did give them like a 2 weeks notice, and like I did my research first, and like really have a a talk with myself, and like, am I really ready to leave the stable job and like risk everything for a bookshop? And when I realized at the end of the day, I'm like, it's not
as complicated as we thought it was.
It's still complicated, but it's not as complicated where you wouldn't be able to figure it out. Like, it's not rocket science.
Yeah.
Hence why people are now finding out that you can actually do it. It isn't that complicated. So I was like, let's just do it. It wasn't immediate. There was definitely like a lot of like research and back and forth and stuff before that.
It was a lot of prepping too, just to see what we could do. We knew we couldn't have a physical store right away. We had enough to probably buy books, and that was pretty much it. Then she's like, oh, well, I know other people do pop-ups. Why don't we try the pop-up idea?
And see if the community seems excited about it.
Yes.
Right?
And
So
that's
that's
what it
risk. That seemed like a lower risk thing. You didn't have to commit to do the pop-ups and see if the community would respond to it.
And that's how it all started.
What was the time difference between the pop-up shop to a physical store? Yeah.
Less than a year.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So there was a demand for it.
I think the catalyst for us was when we attended the OC Book Fair. It was their first year last year, the inaugural one. It wasn't something that people had heard about because it was their first one. We had gained quite a number of followers. People were like, okay, there is an OC Book Fair. Other people who were participating at the OC Book Fair was like blasting it. And so a lot of people showed up.
Yeah.
And it is where a lot of the people from Orange County discovered that there was a romance bookstore, just not physically.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, there's a romance bookstore? You guys are a romance bookstore? That's so cool. Where are you guys located? And we're like, no way, here, right now, and then online later today, if you guys are interested. It wasn't like something that we purposely looked for a space. It just so happened that we had driven past this place multiple times. They always had a sign up here that something was for rent. And so I think it was August, we found this space, and then we're like, let's just call. And the rent
It was doable.
seemed very doable. So we got the work done in about a month. And then
Oh.
in October of 2024, last year, which we're coming up to a year now, we soft opened the store.
Yeah.
We were not great at the marketing.
No.
We were so indecisive on when we wanted to do the soft opening because we didn't feel like it was ready, but we also felt like it was ready, and we wanted to make sure that we opened right at the beginning of when our contract starts for us to pay the rent. Then we had announced that we were going to open that day probably like a week before. So there was still a line of people, but not quite a lot. People were excited. They're like, oh my God, Heartbound Bookshop has a physical store. Let us see it. And I was like, guys, it's not that big, all right? Like,
Please,
like manage your expectations. It's not going to be like this grand thing where you're like, oh my God. But people were so excited.
I think I was here that weekend, but I remember like me and my friend came and we were like, we're gonna go. And so we got there and it was jam packed. So we're like, okay, we're gonna go the next day. So we didn't come in a week later because it was just so packed in here.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I'd never seen so many people in a small space like this.
Yeah, we didn't expect that. We had no promo, no nothing.
Yeah.
For our soft opening, it was literally just come and see it.
But it was less than a year that we opened the physical shop. And I don't know how we did it, but we did. And we're now coming up on a year on the physical shop.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just crazy. It feels like it's been 10 years.
So what role did romance novels play in your life growing up?
Well, I only read romance novels or psychology because I wanted to be a psychologist when I did grow up, and then found out how much that takes a toll on you emotionally. I'm a very emotional person. I do not want to carry that home with me. With romance novels, I learned a lot. Most of my friends were guys growing up, so I got most of my sexual education from them. They were very open and sharing about all the stuff that parents don't tell you.
Yeah.
Our parents never gave us the birds and the bees. We had no idea. With the romance novels, I kind of learned that. Like, I started with a lot of historical, and they used words like throbbing.
Yeah.
Your precious area, which is like, you kind of understand the gist of it anyways.
Yeah.
But it just gave me more understanding of your body. Because obviously, as Filipinos too, it's not a topic you normally have with your parents.
Right.
I wish we were more open about it, but you just don't. That's why I was like, I'm very thankful for my guy friends because they told me everything I needed to know, and I didn't even have sex at the time.
Yeah.
So I was like, thanks for telling me I'm not planning to go out and have sex, but great. This is very useful information that not even schools teach. Like,
Especially growing up in the Philippines.
yes.
Because we went to a Catholic school, and
Oh, yeah.
I can only imagine how fun that was.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't do it. Like,
And it wasn't even like a sex educator, it's by the guidance counselor.
Right.
For us, it was actually our Christian living education.
That's worse. At least the guidance counselor was a little bit better, but he did scare the shit out of us. He had like the worst story about vaginismus, and then like literally scared us. I was like, holy shit. But at the same time, I was like, what the fuck? You can't even give us any idea about condoms or other birth control.
Contraceptives,
Like,
nothing like
It used to be, like, I still remember it because I can picture it now. Like, when you go to the pharmacy in the Philippines, they have them, but you have to ask because they're not displayed. Not like here, if you go to CVS, you can literally go to an aisle and
It's like, it's a
Yeah.
regular thing that you can buy.
Yeah.
There's really nothing wrong about it.
But the thing I did learn is, like, in romance novels, sometimes, like, especially growing up, because they were the different type of romance that we have now, is there wasn't a lot about talking about consent. There wasn't a lot about contraceptives. It was just like they're in love, they have sex, and that's pretty much it.
Right.
And they don't talk about, historically, they don't even do any, like, oh, she got pregnant or anything. There's nothing about that. But I learned more about what happens between a man and a woman than what school or my parents would tell me, which was nothing. So it was very helpful for me personally. You never really read romance until you were more of an adult.
Yeah, growing up, romance wasn't really a big interest of mine. I was into more fantasy books. There was romance in it, but it wasn't the central plot. When I did discover romance novels later on, I'm like, let me just try this. Because my sister only reads romance novels. I'm like, let me see what the fuss is all about.
I did have to tell her, hey, by the way, they do have sex in them. And she's like, what?
That's wild to me.
She was like, the funniest thing I do remember early on when I was reading it, she's like, so you're reading your porn books? And I'm like, girl, this is not
She
porn
was
at
reading
all.
like historical romances, and they're like the real people on the covers. Like,
Please let me pick up at the supermarket. She's like, you're reading your porn book. I'm like, it's a romance. It's not porn. Yes, they have sex, but it's not in every chapter. Nowadays, you can say that.
nowadays you can.
But I don't.
Frown upon it. It's fine.
Before we did it was really funny that now she does read it and it doesn't even bother her anymore. It's like, oh, she'll have a book, like, which one? Oh, Nero. I remember you picked up Nero. And I was like, you're reading dark romance? She's like, yeah, and I love it. And I was like, so is there a lot of sex in it? She's like, yeah. And I was like, evolution.
I read a lot as a kid, and I got back into reading during COVID because
Yes.
you have all the time in the world. Yeah, and so I got into reading romance. I got to the point where I was reading romance with a lot of sex in it. When I got a book that was a little bit more closer, I was, what the fuck is that? I remember the book too. It's the book The Roommate, the one where it's a girl who's moving to LA and then she gets a roommate and he's a porn star. I was like, this is gonna be smutty, I'm ready for it. And there was one sex scene and it only lasted a few pages.
You misled me.
I was like, he's a porn star, why is there not more sex in it? Yeah.
What a missed opportunity.
Seriously.
It was more traditionally published, so
Traditional publishing had evolved for sure. I don't think they were necessarily allowed to write as graphic of scenes before.
That would be considered more erotica. I remember when I was reading romances 10, 15 years ago, what we have now would be considered erotica. And romances were somewhat more closed door, or they have a bit of it, but you're right, it's like probably 4 pages long. And that's it.
It's vague words. And you're like,
Yes,
sure,
they don't
great.
say orgasm or climax, nothing like that. It's very beautiful worded.
yeah.
So
Which honestly is a skill.
it is a skill because you have to find other ways to say you
the thing.
reach the point without saying she climaxed. She saw stars, or
came.
he what's that voice for the guys? It's like he grunted in her ear and then that was it. And I was like, cool. So did he come or was that just it?
It is up to interpretation.
Yes, it's up to you whether he did or not. But yeah, it's changed a lot.
Would you say it's just changed more in the past few years?
I think so. I mean, again,
And it would also depend on like the authors.
yeah.
I feel like if you're indie, you have more freedom to write about what you want and how much you want to write it and how descriptive you want to be compared to the trad authors. But I have been noticing, I want to say over the past year, personally, I've been reading a little bit more trad authors and noticing that they're getting more descriptive and creative. You don't feel shy anymore about saying the things that you want to say when the sex is happening, right? Compared to like probably 5 years ago, I probably wouldn't see that in the trad book. That's contemporary. I'd probably see it in the trad book that's dark romance, but not necessarily all these contemporary books.
Yeah.
This is considered real life, and people think they're cutesy and
Yeah.
lovely and closed door, but a lot of these covers are misleading.
Yeah.
They were like, it looks cute, but wait till you read it.
Yes.
It's going to be a great time.
There was a shift. I still remember a couple of years ago, I was still buying romance books, and they still had like the men cover. They're faceless, but you see they're like shirtless or something.
Yeah.
And nowadays, like when I go, like all of them are like hand drawn, illustrated. There are either if they're like more discreet, they're like watercolor like backgrounds, they're landscapes, they're pretty. So it's changed so much actually. But that's what romance was.
Yeah.
It's like literally showing history of how it changed.
The evolution of romance and
Yeah.
how it became more accepted
Yeah.
and widely known and celebrated because there's a market for it. I think it changed because people were spending money on it. The market and the publishers were like, okay, so this is a thing. Let's invest more in it and do all of these things and like
Make it
highly market
prettier.
it and like
Write
make it
in the
prettier,
colors.
spray the edges, like do all of these things so that it's easier to digest.
Once we opened the bookshop, I stopped reading.
Oh yeah, I want people to know that on this podcast, when you open a bookstore, it is not like, oh, you open a bookstore, I'm so sure you can read all the time.
No. FYI, no.
No, because it's a business and you have to put all of your effort into the business, and that means there is no time for reading. Unless you're reading an arc because it's coming out and the publisher sent it to you and they're expecting you to say something about it. So like, you find the time. We're reading way less since opening the bookstore than we did
Before.
That's the reality. Tell the people.
That's how I feel about the podcast. I read a lot before. I had to transition to audiobooks.
Yes.
I'm that person that will listen to the audiobook and then want the physical copy after.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna go back to your favorite part.
I'm very similar where I'll either read nonfiction or romance. The only lanes I'm going into.
There's nothing else. There's no in between.
Yeah.
I mean, I had choices before. I just didn't choose any.
I occasionally read things outside of romance.
You
I
read
have always read things outside of romance because romance wasn't my main genre. Fantasy was, and then later on it became suspense and thrillers. And so now, even with the romance bookstore, in between the romance books, I have to read something that's not romance. I
Yeah.
have to break, like, my mind needs a break because sometimes they start blending together or they get a little formulaic where you can predict what happens to the book, and I don't want to be able to. So I have to read like a thriller or a horror book, and you're like, wow, this is insane. And then go back into the romance, and be like, oh, this is so nice.
How do you see romance novels teaching lessons about intimacy, consent, or pleasure that formal sex education often leaves out?
I feel like sex ed is so basic, and it's so like, oh yeah, this is what happens, and then there's no other explanation as to why it had led up to that point or whatever. In romance books, we see the whole process of it, the lead up to that. What happens to your body, what happens after, the aftercare. Consent is especially, and I feel like a lot of people will agree, like the dark romances, there's a lot of exploration of consent and non-consent and like dubious consent in dark romances, and it's a form of therapy for a lot of these people who went through sexual assault in their real life, and to take back that power, you read these books. Right? And so they play such a big thing in like teaching you about yourself and what you can ask for in sex, because I feel like that's not taught to us at all. And so through the books you get to know, oh, okay, we're allowed to ask these questions, we're allowed to want these things, we're allowed to explore our own sexuality and the pleasure and all of that wasn't necessarily explained to us in sex ed. Like, it didn't seem like it was so scientific that they didn't mark the most important part of the sex is your emotions during sex.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they never cover that in sex ed, ever. They're just like, this is what happens between a man and a woman. They kiss, and then the penis inside somebody climaxes. Most of the time, it's not you, it's the guy, and then the sex is over. That's it. Oh, and if you let him do it inside you, you have a baby. It was never like why these things happened and why it was important to talk about it, and like what emotions are you going through and what your body is going through. You're having sex. And romance books, they detail that to the T. The lead up. Why did you guys have sex? Because of all the 10,000 chapters before this and the sexual tension that was going on. This is reaching this pivotal moment where now they're going to do all of this, and the feelings that the woman is experiencing. I think that's the most important thing with romance books. It tells the sex through the woman's lens compared to a guy's lens, and I think it's important because women were never taught to ask for things, and sex was never something we thought was for. It was like, oh, it's for guys. They do their thing and then we're done. And that's what we expected, right? Because that's what the media tells you. And then you read these books and you're like, wait, what? We could actually ask for that? Oh, we should be experiencing this? It was such an eye-opener for me. Yeah. So it's so important because there's like so many aspects to sex that never get talked about in sex ed classes that get taught to you in like these romance books, because they tell you that it's okay to do these things. And it's okay if you didn't like it. It's okay if you liked it. It's okay, like, no means no. In the books, they tell you that. Consent was the whole thing. And like, Dark romance are like, if you don't want consent, you went through that, get your therapy through this, because this will tell you there is a way to own it and reclaim that for yourself. But I think it's beautiful.
In my point of view, just because I had a lot of guy friends who already had told me about sex, I got my sex ed not through a teacher but through friends. I guess the way I see romance is that they explore a little bit more than what your friends can just say. Because obviously all my friends were guys, so they could tell me from their perspective of how sex works for them. I love them because they always say, no ID, no entry, so that just means if they don't have a condom, you don't let them have sex with you. They were the ones that taught me all of that. But with the romance, what I loved about it is because it teaches you more about yourself as a physical being, as a sexual woman, what is good and what's not good. Like what you said, what you can ask for and what you should be asking for. In sex ed, they don't talk about the women's arousal because it's always primarily focused on the men's, because that's what makes, quote unquote, the baby. If the guy doesn't come, then there's no baby.
Or also that's just not sex to them, which is like there's so many forms of sex.
That's why it's great about romance novels, because they show you all at different forms. They open you up to learning about other things, like oral sex is still sex. Foreplay is a very vital part of sex, because if you're not aroused enough, then when they put it in, it hurts. And that's why it's so good, because they tell you, like when the guy checks in on the woman in the book, they're like, oh, you're very wet. That's an important key, because we don't get taught that you need to be wet in order for sex to feel pleasurable for both persons. It's just like, oh, A inserts into B, and that's pretty much it. And it's like what she said, it's very clinical. It's for the basis of just procreating. But sex isn't just procreating, it's
an emotional experience.
It's an intimacy between two people, and it's very important. And I love the fact that they go into the deeper parts of that. With romance, they do teach a lot more than what you can get from sexual education. Like all the things about foreplay, the consent parts of saying no means no.
And the kinks.
They bring out all the kinks that you didn't even think you had.
And so you that book, you're like, wait, that kind of sounds fun.
Yeah.
I tried that. That's how you get taught. They comfortably tell you and weave that part into a beautiful story between two people that encapsulates what it feels like to be in love and all this romance. And then insert the most important part of intimacy, and exploration of what intimacy looks like.
When it's healthy. Dark romance covers the toxic parts or what you would experience outside of that, which is great because then you can look at that at a different lens of like, oh, as a person separate from the being in there, I'm like, oh, I can actually see that now as, oh, that's not bad. There's a lot of dark romances that do dubcon, which is a fine line of consent or no consent. And there's also consensual non-consent, where the partner has consented to pretend that they are not consenting.
The foreplay and the kink.
It's in the role play too sometimes. It's all part of that. Romance feels like a very important part of that now, because years ago they didn't cover any of this, and it's like between the sheets. No, now like all these romances have either car sex, library sex, counter sex.
Shut up.
Most of it need counter sex. If you need that, pick up her book. But it just explores all of that, and that's what makes it so amazing, is because we've gone far enough into allowing women to own themselves, like own their bodies, own their sensuality,
their pleasure.
Yeah. And it just doesn't limit you anymore. Like you don't have to be fearful to ask your friends. Before you probably would be. You're like, oh, is this normal? Like, is it normal not to come? No, it's not normal not to come. If you don't tell, and also it's a great thing too, because for people who just read romance and they've never had sex, it's normal to ask. So she's like, hey, you don't want to go down on me? Cool. What can you do to make sure I get there too? It's not just about you. It allows them, and it's good. It gives them expectations. They should have expectations. It's no longer just about the man having pleasure. It's an equal thing.
And it also opens a lot of doors for queer people as well, because queer sex isn't really talked about normally in sex ed at all, right? It was never explored. It was never something that came up in sex ed. And now with these romance novels, they can explore that and show, especially when you come out later in life if you don't know what to do, because all you ever know to do is like the hetero stuff. And all of these queer books are telling you, hey, it's going to be a fun time for you. Let me show you what we can do.
They bring out the toys.
They bring out all of it, which is so cool. And so I feel like it's so important nowadays. Romance novels aren't just for the fun of it. Also, like your podcast is all about, it is educational.
Yeah.
Like we can see it as a fun thing, but we can also get educated at the same time. which makes it a grand old time.
Yeah.
Like, when have you ever been like sitting and having a great time through lessons, right? No one can really say that all the time. Some teachers do it really well. Don't discount some of these teachers that do a great job at teaching, but these romance novels are really good at doing that.
I hadn't seen consent too much in books before, but now, especially in heterosexual sex in books, they mention getting the condom out. And that, I was like, wow, look at them. And I think especially since we have so many more options to read, like there's so many books in here, you'll find either something that you're interested or something that will change your mind. Like, I really love Sarah Kate's series, Salacious Players Club. She does such a good job of showing non-monogamous relationships. And I think that is interesting, but it's a hard thing for people to grasp. And I feel like having it in a book just makes it a lot easier for people, you know.
Digest and like taking it like, oh, that's possible. It is possible to be non-monogamous and still have a good time. It's possible to have a poly relationship and everybody's equally as invested in this relationship as if it was just a two-person relationship. So books like White Shoes is like one of those very favorite tropes.
Reverse harem.
Reverse harem is also one.
That's the white shoes. The white shoes is between two people. The reverse harem is when there's multiple guys. Those are great.
When you think of your own journey, what lessons have romance novels given you that formal sex ed never did?
I think for sure, like, asking for things during sex and not being afraid to own your sexuality and pleasure. And also just introduction to kinks. Again, like, there are things that I wasn't sure that I liked, but because the book talked about it, I'm like, maybe I like that, and I'm going to try that next time.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the kind of effect that it's had on me. Formal sex ed, I wouldn't even call it formal sex ed.
There's nothing.
Like, when I went to school in the Philippines, there was barely anything taught. Everything that I know is either through friends or a romance novel. It made me be able to like embrace more myself and like my personality, my pleasure, my sexuality, and like not being ashamed of it, because I feel like, especially since we're Filipinos and the Catholicism of it all, it's such a taboo topic, and like we're not allowed to talk about it or tell people like, oh yeah, I enjoy sex. Like, why can't we say that? I don't understand why it's not accepted. Like, how the fuck did you make us? At one point you enjoyed that, didn't you? Like, tell us about it, because we're not learning anything, and then you guys expect us not to do all of these things. And then you'll be surprised that, oh, you've had sex before? I don't know what to tell you. How did you learn how to sex? You know what I mean? So I think that's for sure what's helped me, like being able to embrace it more and not be ashamed.
Definitely agreed with the kinks because that opened me up more. I didn't know I enjoyed reading White Shoes. I didn't know I would probably enjoy having multiple people. That sounds fun. Basically, arousal part, like, you know, asking for things, learning about your body, but also being able to freely say that, because, like, again, I agree with her. In Catholicism, it's not widely accepted to say, yes, I enjoy being a sexual being, because it's more taboo. Like, for guys, it's very easily accepted. They can have locker room talk, and that's nothing, but women can't. And I think what romance has taught me for sex is that we can talk about it. I want that to be more common, like being able to be comfortable to tell your friends, like, oh yeah, I had a great time with this guy. He did this and this to me, and it was really great. He listened to what I wanted. That's what's great about romance. It seems like you're not alone in your experience, and I think that's where I learned that I'm not alone in being who I am, enjoying sex, and not being ashamed about it. That's why we talk about female empowerment and own it. If you fuck all the guys in your life, there's nothing wrong with it. Guys do that, and they never get called that they're slutty.
Yeah.
I mean, now they do, because that is
Mandatory.
man.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that usually wasn't used for men. It was for women. I think romance has opened up being able to accept myself and be okay with that. Like, oh yeah, I do enjoy sex. I do enjoy using toys. I do enjoy talking about it with my friends comfortably because I trust them. And it's also about that trust.
Yeah.
I think in romance, they show a lot of trust.
And the building of that relationship.
It's the lust story. There is always still a level of trust. There's still a level of trust in that. I think that's what's really great about it, is that level of trust.
Yeah.
And like learning that you should trust your partner. If you don't trust your partner, trust your gut. And say, no, I don't want to do this. I want to take a step back, and knowing that's okay. It's not wrong. You're not wrong for changing your mind. Like, I love that in romances where the girl will suddenly change her mind, and then the guy's like, okay, and they back off.
Yeah.
Because honestly, it's sad to say, in real life, that doesn't always happen. So knowing that you can do that should make you comfortable. No, I really don't.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's great. But you covered everything, so it's not much to say.
I was gonna say that Catholicism randy, because my parents also never gave me any forms of sex education. The only thing my family ever said is don't have sex because you're just gonna get pregnant. So I thought it was like once you have sex, immediate pregnancy.
But there's no initial explanation of how in that process does that happen.
And how do we prevent it? And then
Yeah.
we can prevent it from happening.
Yeah, that's another good thing I learned from birth control. Birth control in books are very helpful. Obviously, I did learn it before reading romances, but they've gotten so much better about it in their stories. They're talking about your IUDs, implants, pills, condoms, everything. They tell you all about Plan B. That's all the education that we normally wouldn't get. And especially as Filipinos, parents don't want to talk about it because they obviously don't want to imagine their kids having sex. But at the same time, like I told my mom this a long time ago, like if I do have kids, if God does bless me to have kids, that's the first thing I'm bringing up because I rather them know ahead of time.
And be prepared.
Be prepared.
Yeah.
Because like, I don't want them to be tricked. Like for guys, I definitely want to tell them if a girl tells you you don't need to use a condom, use a condom. A woman will always tell you use a condom, and if she tells you no, please use one.
Yeah.
Because that's for your safety.
Yes.
And for women, definitely, obviously, we'll probably have to explain more about
There's
consent.
more to talk about.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Guys also need to learn.
Yeah, the consent is very important for boys, especially if you're raising boys, telling them about consent. If a girl says no, you have no right to be upset.
No is a full stop.
Yeah.
It's a stop. You need to go
Pull out.
But for women, obviously, you have to do more. And I do want to be able to tell them about birth control, about not just
Options.
condoms, everything. What do you want to do to protect yourself, knowing that even if you have birth control, it doesn't protect you from STIs. Nothing is 100% except abstinence. Then at least we can bring that up as the
Like that is true. Like
Yeah.
abstinence is 100% effective.
Yeah.
doesn't
Like
get you pregnant, doesn't get you any STI.
But also, we all know you're not going to abstain.
Yeah.
So this is what you can do to protect yourself.
There's actually a book I read that prevents all these things, masturbation. Oh my god.
It's self-love.
Even there's like books now where they're thinking about the man that they want. It's like that. And I'm like, oh, look at them adding this to the story.
They'll take out their toy and everything. Yes. Healthy use of toys. Yes.
And also
Because sometimes you-
self-pleasure.
Yeah.
Yes, also. Like just sometimes about the toys.
Yeah. Sometimes with the toys, sometimes with that. But like that stigma of like toys are bad, like toys are gross, toys are only for girls who, that's not right.
Dirty girls.
Yeah. It doesn't make you less of a man if you use toys. It's just a tool to help you.
It makes it better.
Yeah.
It
It
makes
makes a whole experience out of it.
For everyone.
For everybody. We're all having a good time.
like I know older romances used to be like, oh, the guy's just thrusting in and that's it. But like more and more romances show guys saying it's not just the penetration, it's all of the things, touching, the kissing,
And
caressing.
love to it.
Yes, that gets the person going, and by getting them going, they can actually get closer to climaxing than you just thrusting in and hoping for God that
Right.
she's enjoying it.
I hope she finishes.
Yeah.
Before I do.
Or like the scenes now, they always say about the guy playing with the clit. That's
Yeah.
always important. Using a toy to play with the clit.
Yeah.
All that stuff. But that's important that you don't learn in sex ed at all.
One of the things I feel like I've noticed a lot, where romance novels really helped me be aware when I started reading again, was oral sex. Because there's this notion where a lot of guys don't perform oral sex.
Yes.
And reading these romance novels where it's a guy going down there like, this is my favorite thing in the world. And I was like, that's how they should feel.
That's how they should feel.
Like, because it's not taught, but guys who learn ear porn expect that. And I think that's what makes it difficult when you get into a relationship, because not all women enjoy doing oral sex either, so you can't expect that from a partner. But also, guys should at least offer. It's common courtesy. Some women won't want you next to their thing at all. They only want penis. That's
Yeah,
it.
that's fine.
At least asking is always important. The whole point is ask for what you want. If they say no, okay, cool.
It's nice that this medium has given people the perspective of like, this is something you also can enjoy now too.
Yes, definitely. But
Agree. Hard agree.
Are there any Filipino or Filipino American romance authors that you're excited to recommend this month?
oh yeah.
Yeah. My first one is Joss Richard. Her book is called It's Different This Time. It released September 30. It is so good. It is her debut book. I don't want to give too much about the story, but it's a second chance romance. They were former roommates, and they lived in this brownstone in New York, and many years later, they're estranged from each other. They're not friends anymore. They have been out of each other's lives, but they're called to this apartment that they previously rented before because the owner had passed away and needed someone to take over the house. And since they were the last ones who lived there, had bestowed it upon them. And so now they're forced to live together in this house for the next month or so to finalize the paperwork. And we learn about what happened to them many years ago and where that picks up and where that can possibly take them this time. Joss Richard is a Filipino American. This is her debut novel. Her character in the book, the female character, is Filipino Canadian.
Okay.
And then Strictly Extracurricular by Anna Kirkshaw. It's part of a Lessons in Love novel series. It's a teacher romance series, so if you guys are teachers, you're going to love this. But Strictly Extracurricular is about 2 Filipino characters in education, and that's all I'm going to say.
I have Kay Rockwell. The only one I have right now is Honest With You, but she has a bunch of other ones. One of our favorite ones is her romantic suspense one. It's like really good because it's like he's like an FBI agent, and then he's like separated from his wife, who is like Filipino American, and like they get like put back together. So it's also a second chance romance because someone's trying to get to her. It's a really fun read. It's not very long read, but it's so good and written really nicely. So I really enjoy it. And Kay herself, because we met her plenty of
Multiple times.
She's the kindest person we've ever met. She's so nice.
Supportive.
Always excited to see
I
her.
think she was excited to see a Filipino-owned romance bookstore.
Yeah.
So that was exciting. I think she was very excited because we're romance specific,
Yeah.
and because she writes romance books for like a place that she knows that her books will be accepted easily.
Other author I'm excited about is Mia Hopkins. She's also Filipino American. We would describe her as a light dark romance because her themes are a bit dark, but they're not heavy in the sense of like stalker or anything. So like one of her books, like this one I have, is Thirsty. It's about a gangster who came out from prison and is trying to open a brewery with his brothers, and he gets entangled with a single mom and all. It's like lighter dark. It's not like dark in the sense of like, because when I think about dark, I think more like mafia.
I think a lot of people, when we say dark, think about mafia immediately, stalker,
Serial killers
serial
now.
killers. Oh, which are really good, by the way. I highly recommend these books. Sorry, I'm not recommending serial killers. But the stories about them falling in love, strange but good. Highly recommend. But I feel like a lot of people think about like dark romances to be like very like hard to digest, like
Yeah.
heavy topics. And then with Mia, it is dark because of the heavy theme. It's very based on real life experiences and hardships that people go through
Yes.
that make it like heavy,
Personal.
dark, quote unquote, in that sense.
There's no CNC, DubCon, anything like
Yeah.
that. They're consensual
It's
adults.
beautiful stories
Yeah.
about these people finding love during hardships and coming out of it, winning and being happy.
She does have a separate Western series.
That's cowboy.
That's
romance.
cowboy romances with female Filipino leads.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we're excited for that because she plans to re-release that.
Yes.
It's an older series, but she hasn't let us know when it's ready. But once it is,
For all our Filipino cowgirl, cowboy romance lovers, that one's for you.
Yes.
Because in all of these Western romances, they're usually not Filipino. So it's going to be nice to see yourself in one of these
Yes.
characters. There's not a lot of like Filipino romance out there. Yes.
And
So
we'll
those are
also
the
have
ones.
like an event with Kay Rockwell.
We are going to have an event October 26th, 7 p.m. At the Filipino Heritage Month panel. It's not really creative, but that is the tentative name. We're going to have Mia Hopkins, Kay Rockwell.
El Crew, Vanessa Lana.
The Teofilo Coffee is going to be here.
Oh, okay.
So that should be fun. They're going to talk about their representation in their books and what it's like to be a Filipino American in the book industry.
Ooh, I'm gonna come.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Kay's husband's gonna make food, like lumpia and
And that's it.
Oh, yay!
So we'll be very heavily fed.
Yeah, because when we first did events here, like our first ever event in the store, we were like, snacks will be provided. And our snack, as you would know, is like lumpia and pancit. That's a snack.
Yeah.
Okay, so we serve that, and they're like, this ain't snacks.
This is a dinner.
This like dinner. No,
This is snack.
Yeah.
This is our snack. Like this is what we snack.
You're supposed to grab one, leave, then come back and grab a few more.
They're not fully eating. And they're like, we should do more events at Heartbound because
Yeah, that's how they feed you.
And then we
They did. They loved it.
We ordered like 100 of those.
Yeah.
Gone at the end of the day.
We had a
Mind
half-
you, there was only 15 people.
Yeah. And then we had a half tray of pancit. There's only a fourth of it left from the half tray. I was like, wow. I did not expect that they would really
Love it.
love it, but
But
they
they
did.
did. As much
Yeah.
as they did.
So then we had to like manage their expectations and be like,
That was
snacks
a
now.
one and done thing. We now know
Our-
snacks are not like this for y'all. So we brought chips,
Crackers.
cookies, and stuff for the next event.
If you leave us to our own devices,
Yeah.
it would definitely become Filipino food.
Always. Because we also have to put people onto Filipino food.
Right. The other author that we want to mention was Dominic Lim, right? 'Cause
Yes, Dominic Lim. I had a hard time because I've been wanting to get his books into the
Yes.
store
Yeah.
because I wanted Filipino representation. A lot of people don't realize Filipino LGBTQ people, they like to dress up in drag. And that's normal for us.
For us, it's normal.
In the Philippines,
Yeah.
it's normal.
Cross dressing is normal for
Yeah,
us.
everybody does that. So to have that, I would love it to have that representation in the
Ariel
store.
Green.
Yes,
Yeah.
I want that book.
Yes.
But for the longest time, I couldn't figure out how to get his books because I didn't know he was represented by a traditional publisher.
Mhm.
So
If he was, because we were looking on Ingram, where like mostly is like the book distributor company, we couldn't find his books on there, and if we did, it was always out of stock.
yes.
Mm.
So we're like, how do we get it? And at one point, we had asked Kay, because Kay is really good friends with Dominic, and we're like, can you just ask him?
Can you
how
tell him
we-
we want his
how
books?
we can get his books? And then he was like, I can't because I'm trans, so like,
Mm.
I'm not allowed to sell you books. Like, you have to go through the publisher.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, we'll figure it out.
And then we found out. So yes, eventually, soon we will have his books. in the
Yes,
store.
that's so good.
Awesome. This segment is going to be a psychology pop quiz.
Woo, psychology.
I'm going to tell you different needs that romance stories fulfill, and you have to tell me which romance trope is it based off of.
Okay.
Okay. Question number 1. Healing old wounds by confronting the past and proving love deserves a second chance.
Second chance romance.
It
Yes.
has to be. It says it right there.
I love it.
Okay, the next. Learning to trust someone fully to be forced into vulnerability and closeness.
Forced proximity.
Learning to trust someone fully by being forced into vulnerability and closeness.
Yeah, it's a forced proximity.
Girl, I love that trope.
I know you do.
Okay, next
I
one.
think it's harder. We'll see.
I did make them progressively harder. Okay. A character wants to feel accepted and validated in social situations, maybe to gain approval from family, avoid judgment, or prove their desirability. It often reflects the human need for belonging and the hope that love can grow out of something pretend.
Fake dating.
Yes. The pretend part. Gets
Yeah, I was
me.
like, it has to be.
The whole other part.
All right. Question 4. A character is grieving or struggling with deep hurt. They long for a safe space to heal and someone patient enough to help them rediscover joy.
Ooh, this might be a difficult one.
This is grumpy and sunshine. A lot of grumpy people are grieving.
That's true. They long for a safe space to heal. I feel like maybe I don't know this one. You take a guess.
My guess was grumpy and sunshine.
You're right. Yeah, Grumpy and Sunshine.
I am so good. As if I don't read a billion romance novels.
All right. Number 5. A character wants to reclaim their self-worth, prove they are strong, and break free from unhealthy dynamics.
I'm gonna look to you now.
Don't. I'm trying to.
A character wants to reclaim their
Self-worth.
self-worth, prove they are strong, and break free from unhealthy dynamics. I'm trying to think of the tropes now. Like suddenly,
It's
I
blank.
don't remember any of the tropes anymore. Break free from unhealthy dynamics. So they have to come out of a toxic relationship.
This is the only one I feel like you can't really figure it out from the prompt.
So, are you gonna give me some clues?
This is one of the most popular tropes. Probably because I love it.
Enemies to lovers, right?
It is enemies to lovers. Yeah.
That's true.
I can see it now. This is not my favorite. It's the reason why I can't guess it. 'Cause
I'm
it's
like,
not.
when she was like, probably like enemies to lovers.
I have no idea. My favorite would be rivals to lovers.
Oh,
Because I told you, my thing with enemies is I don't know where he gets to the point where they change
You
their
have
feelings.
read it.
I know. And I don't, because I don't like it.
4-3 does it really well.
Okay.
The true enemies to lovers.
I love it when they hate each other. I love the tension of them being like, fuck this person.
And then literally though.
That's why I'm like, when does it change? Does it show?
It had always walked that line.
It's always them showing the moments where they actually like each other, where they connect about something,
Yes.
and then it gets to that point where
They
like,
have always walked the line.
I feel that way about friends to lovers because it's just like, okay, well they were friends. It's just like, okay.
But then it's one of my favorite lovers.
Too. I was thinking about Chandler and Monica.
Yeah. Is there more? I'm excited.
One last one. Someone who's looking for stability, structure, and protection, even if passion comes later.
Bodyguard. My protection. Someone's looking for stability, structure, and protection.
Arranged marriage.
Yes, I count that.
Oh,
Marriage
marriage
and
and
convenience. Yeah.
Those two, sometimes I think they're still separate, but sometimes they can be also the same.
Yeah. Awesome. Well,
It's a fun one.
thank you for being on my podcast.
I really like that.
the quiz.
She's like, this is for me.
For me, I need it.
It's a good one. I loved it.
Do you have anything you want to plug before we...
Check us out on Instagram for all of our events. We have some really exciting ones coming up that we cannot tell anyone about.
Yes, not yet.
No, yeah, because they're super secret and like we'll get in so much trouble if we told anybody. But please look out for them on Instagram. If you don't follow us, please do. And come check out the store.
Yeah.
Come say hi. We're here 6 days a week.
If you haven't followed us on Instagram, follow us now. And if you haven't come into the store, please come in and say hi. We promise we won't judge you for anything that you read.
And if you're not watching the YouTube and you're listening to the podcast, the Instagram is at Heartbound Bookshop. So thank you guys. Thank you. All right.
Loved it.
That's the Belt Class. Have any questions about human sexuality? Submit them to our anonymous form linked in the show notes. Your homework? Share this episode with a friend because the best way to destigmatize sex is to talk about it. And if you're ready for extra credit, grab our free Essential Sex Conversations workbook by signing up for our newsletter. That's it for today's lesson. Class dismissed.